Hello everyone, I'm Chandraprakash Bhavana, and today I want to discuss a real interview in a Ministry of Labor and Employment, and the location is New Delhi, and the interview date was the July 10th, 2026. So the first question they asked me: suppose a user renames a video file path with a .pdf extension and upload it. How would you prevent such an invalid file from being accepted? So the answer is extension can't be trusted. It is just a file name string fully controlled by the client. So it can be easily spoofed. So check actual file content, not extension. So I would use PHP finfo extension to read the file's magic bytes, which reveal the true file type. Then PDF signature check. A genuine PDF always start with ampersand PDF in its binary content. So a rename video file will show its real MIME type like videos/mp4. So $finfo equal to finfo underscore open in the bracket file info underscore MIME underscore type. So $MIME type equal to finfo underscore file in the bracket $info comma $underscore files upload temp name. So if $MIME type is not equal to application/PDF, so reject file. So never trust client's supplied MIME type. $underscore files upload type comes from the browser and it is a spoofable as the extension. So additionally, hardening, store upload outside the web root, rename file randomly, and add antivirus malware scanning for sensitive systems like government portals. So in short, validate the file's actually binary content on the server, not the extension or client given MIME type. Second question they asked me, middleware. Okay. So middleware is a layer that executes before or after a request reaches the controller. It is used to perform common tasks like the authentication, authorization, logging, calls, and request middleware. So CodeIgniter 3 does not have built-in middleware. We use hooks or custom implementation. CodeIgniter 4 provides built-in filters which work like middleware and can run before or after a request. So hooks and middleware both allow us to execute code before or after a request, but they are not the same. Middleware is request-based and mainly used for the task like the authentication, authorization, and request filtering, whereas hooks are event-based and are triggered at specific points in the application execution. So in CodeIgniter 3 uses hooks, so no built-in middleware. In CodeIgniter 4 uses filters which acts like the middleware. Okay, so the bottom line is hooks and middleware serve similar purpose, but they are different concepts. Middleware processes HTTP request and response, where hooks execute code and predefined events in the application's lifecycle. Okay. The follow-up question they asked me, how is the middleware implemented in CodeIgniter 3 and CodeIgniter 4? What are the key differences? So in CodeIgniter 3, there is no built-in middleware support. To achieve similar functionality, we use hooks or implement a custom middleware mechanism. For example, a pre-controller hook can be used to execute logic such as the authentication, authorization, logging, and maintenance mode before the controller is called. In CodeIgniter 4, middleware is implemented using the filters, which are built into the framework. Filters can run before or after a request. They are commonly used for authentication, CSRF protection, request validation, logging, and modifying responses. So filters are configured in app-config filters.php and can be applied globally to a specific routes or the root group. So the key difference is the CodeIgniter 3 relies on hooks or custom implementation because middleware is not built in, whereas CodeIgniter 4 provides a dedicated filter system that is cleaner, more flexible, and easier to maintain. Okay, so example in CodeIgniter 3 by using the hooks. So dollar hook pre-controller, and in the bracket you have the class, function, file name, file path. Okay, in CodeIgniter 4 that is filters, public array dollar alias equal to in the bracket auth app filters auth filter double colon class route get dashboard double colon index filter auth. So the one liner is CodeIgniter 3 uses hooks or custom middlewares, while CodeIgniter 4 has built-in filters that provide the middleware functionality. Question number 3, they asked me, if you have two tables, one contains employees department information and the other contains employee salary, write a SQL query to calculate the total salary of each department. So select department underscore ID sum salary as total salary from employees, join salary on employees.employee underscore ID equal to salaries.employee ID, and group by departments underscore ID. So I joined the employees and salaries table using the employee ID group, thus record by the department's ID, and uses the sum aggregate function to calculate the total salary for each department. Question number 4, they asked me, in a PHP application, it is better to store upload PDF file in the database or in the application file storage, and why? So I would store the application file in the application file storage rather than database. Storing large files in the database increases the database size, slows down backups and restores, and can impact query performance. So a better approach is to save the PDF in the file system or cloud storage like AWS S3 and store only the file path, file name or URL in the database. This keeps the database lightweight and improve overall performance and scalability. So I would also store the file outside the web root, generate unique file name, and control access through the application for the better security. So store the PDF in file storage and save only its path in the database because it's more efficient, scalable, and easier to maintain. Question number 5, they asked me, how does a login API authenticate a user using a username, email, and password? Explain the complete request and response flow. So when a user logs in, the client sends a post request containing the username or email and password to the login API over HTTPS. First, the server validates the input, then it searches for the user in the database using the username or email. If the user exists, the server compares the entered password with the stored hashed password using a password verification function such as password underscore verify. If the password is correct, the server generates an authenticated token such as a JWT or session token and returns it to the client along with the success response. The client stores this token and includes it in the authorization headers for the subsequent API request. So for every protected request, the server validates the token. If the token is valid, it allows access, otherwise it returns an unauthorized response. Okay, so the example is you have a post method, API login, email and password you have. Now success response, status true, you will get one token and message login successful. Failed request, status false, message invalid email or password. So the one liner is the API verifies the user's credentials, compares with the password with the stored hash, generates an authenticated token on access and uses that token to the authenticate future requests. Question number 6. How do you write database queries in CodeIgniter 3 and CodeIgniter 4? Explain the different approaches with the example. So both CodeIgniter 3 and CodeIgniter 4 provide the multiple ways to write database queries. The two most common approaches are Query Builder and Raw SQL. So Query Builder is a generally preferred because it is a cleaner, easier to maintain and helps prevent SQL injection by escaping value automatically. So the Query Builder, which is recommended in CodeIgniter 3, we use a this DB select star, this DB from employees, this DB where status 1, query this DB get result query result. So this is in the CodeIgniter 3. In CodeIgniter 4, DB config database :connect. So $builder equal to DB table employee, query equal to builder where status 1 get result query get results. So raw SQL query CodeIgniter 3. So query this DB query select star from employees where status 1 result query result. CodeIgniter 4, DB equal to config database :connect. So query DB query select star from employees where status 1. So $result query get result. So the interview one liner is in both CodeIgniter 3 and 4, I can write database queries using either Query Builder or a raw SQL. For most CRUD operations, I prefer Query Builder because it's more readable, maintainable, and provides built-in protection against the SQL injection. Okay, so the next question they asked me, explain the findAll method in CodeIgniter 4 with an example. So findAll, it will fetch all the records. If you use the find $ID, it will fetch a single record by the primary key. Where findAll fetch records matching a condition. Insert $data, insert a new record. Update ID data, update an existing record. Delete ID, delete a record by primary key. Question number 8, they asked me, how do you import 10 GB file in the PHP? So for a 10 GB file, I would never load the entire file into the memory because it can be exceed PHP memory limit and crash the application. Instead, I would read the file in chunks or line by line using fopen and fgetcsv. This keeps memory usage low because only a small portion of the file is processed at a time. Okay, so $handle fopen large file.csv are, while $row equal to fgetcsv $handle not equal to false. So process each row. So fclose handle $handle. If the data needs to be inserted into a database, I would use batch insert. For example, 500, 1000 records at a time instead of inserting one row at a time. For every large imports, I would process the file as a background job or CLI script instead of handling it in a normal HTTP request to avoid timeout issue. So if it's a MySQL CSV file, load data in file is even faster because it imports the data directly into the MySQL. So in short, I would use streaming, batch insert and background processing to efficiently import a 10 GB file. Question number 9, they asked me routes. So routes define how the URL maps to the controllers and actions. So syntax, let us suppose you have example.com controller method parameter and your URL is example.com products view 123. So this maps to controller products method equal to view and parameter equal to 123. So type of routes, we have the static routes, fixed URL pattern, $route get home double colon index. So maps to the home controller. Dynamic routes, variable URL pattern with the parameter. So $route get product slash colon num product double colon details slash $1. So this is a dynamic parameter. Third is the custom routes defined using the regular expression. $routes add product slash 0 to 9 and 4 products details slash $1. So matched 4-digit numbers. Question number 10, they asked me, how do you give role RBAC in the route? So role-based access controller, that is RBAC, is used to restrict access to the routes based on a user role such as the admin, manager or employees. In CodeIgniter 4, this is the typically implemented using the filters. After a user logs in, their role is stored in the session or extracted from a JWT token. A custom role filter checks the user's role before allowing access to the request route. If the user doesn't have the required role, the request is denied with a 403 forbidden response or redirected to an access denied page. Example, routes get admin slash dashboard admin double colon index and filters role colon admin. Role filter concept. If session role double not equal to admin, so return redirect to the slash access denied. So the interview summary is, I implemented RBAC using filters. After login, the user's role is stored in the session or JWT. The filter checks the role before executing the route. If the user has a required role, access is granted, otherwise access is denied. If the interviewer asks about CodeIgniter 3, so the CodeIgniter 3 doesn't have a built-in filters. RBAC is usually implemented using the hooks or by checking the user's role inside a base controller or custom authentication library before allowing access to the requested control. Question number 11, merge versus combine function in PHP and how do we do with associative array? Okay, so first of all, merge versus combine function. So merge arrays, that is the array underscore merge. Let us suppose you have two array 1 to 5, array 2 6 to 9, and you are using a $merge equal to array underscore merge array 1 array 2 and then print $merge. So the output would be 0 equal to 1, 1 equal to 2, and this will up to 8 equal to 9. Okay, now array combine. Array 1 1 to 5, array 2 6 to 9, and you are using the array underscore combined. So it will give an error that keys and values must have the same number of elements. So the function array combined array 1 array 2 requires that both arrays must have the same number of elements so that it become keys and values. So combined array underscore combined is not a suitable in this case because both arrays need to have the same length and we don't have any key value pairs here. So array 1 1 to 5, array 2 6 to 10, then we can use the array underscore combined and the output would be the first array would be the key and the second array would be the value. So 1 equal to 6, 2 equal to 7 and up to 5 equal to 10. So the explanation is array combined array 1 array 2 pairs elements from array $array1 and keys and $array 2 as values. Now the second part of the question is array underscore merge on associative array. So combines two array if the same string key exists in both, the later array value overwrites the earlier one. Okay, so let us suppose you have $array1 name Chandra, role developer. Okay, in array2 you have role senior developer, city Dehradun. Now if you are using the array underscore merge here and you print the result, so the output would be the name Chandra, role senior developer and city Dehradun. So it will override the first one. Okay, so the output would be the name Chandra, role senior developer and city Dehradun. Now array combine does not care whether the source array are indexed or associative. It only uses their values position by position. Original keys for dollar keys and dollar value are ignored. Okay, so let us suppose you have first array dollar keys k1 equal to name, k2 equal to role, k3 equal to city. Dollar value is equal to v1 equal to Chandra, v2 equal to developer and v3 equal to Dehradun. Now if you are using array underscore combines, so the output would be the name Chandra, role developer, city Dehradun. So even though dollar keys and values had their own associative keys k1, k2, k3, array combines ignores those and just uses the values in order same result as before. Question number 12, they ask me MVC. So MVC, that is a model view controller, is a design pattern that separate an application into three components. So model manages data and database logic. View handles UI and display data. Controller manages requests and business logic. So explain each component of MVC with an example. So model handles DB, that is user.php, which will fetch users from DB. View display data, users.php shows users list. Controller manages logic. User controller.php calls model and send data to the view. So how does MVC work in PHP? So user requests a URL that is slash users. Router directs request to the controller, user controller at index. Controller calls model, use double colon get all user. Model fetches data from DB. Controller sends data to the view, that is users.php, and view display the data. So the summary is model is data, view is display, and controller is logic. So these were the questions were asked by the Ministry of Labor and Employment, and the location is Delhi, and the interview date was the July 10th, 2026. So I will share more interview question with you. Till then, bye.